Alright, guys, so let's talk Final Destination 5 and finish this series up. Um, this one I don't remember that much from, but I do know that I do like it much more than the fourth one, The Final Destination. So this has the dude, what's his name, Nick D'Agosto, who was in the comedy Fired Up, which I couldn't think of the name of in the last video. But we also have Tony Todd back in this one for probably 3 minutes, which is all you need, just hearing Tony Todd's voice. And we have Dave Koshner. Is that his name? You see him in everything. He was an SNL cast member. This guy's in everything. He's in Piranha 3 Double D, which I still need to do that movie. That's pretty much all the actors I know in this. But I like the whole bridge disaster here. Like, it kind of reminds me of if anyone knows, like, the history of Point Pleasant, the town with the Mothman sightings, and in like the late 60s, I think it was, that the bridge collapsed, and everyone claimed to see the Mothman there, and he's like a sign of disaster to come. Kind of reminds me of that. If anyone hasn't heard of the Mothman legend, there's some like one or two documentaries on Tubi about it. Check it out. It's interesting stuff, but I love all that cryptid stuff. But the bridge disaster is really cool in this one. And we get like a little twist here in this movie which I don't care for compared to the others. We find out in this one that if you take another person's life, then you get the time that they had left. And that's why we see the friend of the main dude at the end trying to kill the girl so that he gets her time back. I don't like any of that. Like, none of this was in the other movies, so I don't know why they decided to introduce it here with the last movie. But let's talk Final Destination 5 and close this series up, y'all. This is 2011, so what, this is a year, 2 years after the last one. 2009 was the last one, right? And directed by, I already forgot his name. It's not anybody I've ever heard of. Which I said that with the last movie. Dave Ellis is his last name. I said I couldn't think of anything else he's done. He directed the second one too. So it was James Wong with the first one, then Ellis with the second one, then James Wong with the third one, Ellis with the fourth one, and then there's this new guy. I think it was like Stephen Quayle or something like that. Could be completely wrong there. But another thing I don't like about this movie, it's not that I don't like it. I like the whole way that this film ties into the first movie at the end, where we see this guy and his girlfriend get on Flight 180. And they use some of the footage from the first movie very cleverly, actually. The only thing I don't like is they foreshadow it very hard. Like, they could have made it more of a surprise. But even in the opening scene here, when they're waiting for the bus at their job, he is already talking about going and getting a job offer in Paris, and they mention Paris so many times. We all know from the other entries in the series, especially from the first one and stuff, that they were going to Paris. So you can put it together real easily. I mean, I remember in the theater, I was like, this is going to tie into the first one. And I basically called it. And then at the end, I saw it. Still, like I said, executed well. They could have done better. They shouldn't have mentioned Paris so much, because everybody who's a big fan of the series and was seeing every one of these in the theaters in the 2000s, they were all going to pick up on that. I don't know, just a small thing, but like I said, done very well. Should have kept it more of a secret and a twist for the ending. Now, they do a much better job than the last movie, and just like the first three movies, of getting to know these characters and the survivors early on. Like, this isn't even during like the premonition. Like, we get to meet them and see them at their job before they get on the bus to go to this business retreat. And Sam, the main guy, and Molly, his girlfriend, are having problems. He was going to his brother's wedding for the weekend after this business retreat, and she canceled her ticket, and she's saying that things aren't working out between them. Yet, after this whole life-changing event they go through, like in so many movies, then they reignite their love for each other, and they're all fine. And then Candace, the not acrobat, gymnast, is an intern there, but she's like fucking the Sam's friend, and it's also his boss. Can't remember his name. He's kind of a douche, but not too bad. Not like the guy from the last movie, like that's for sure. And then Dennis, we have as the guy from SNL that we've seen in everything. Stupid dickhead boss. And then we have that hot chick, like I have no idea what her name is, and that nerdy dude who's always on the phone with the glasses. He's always talking or pretending he's talking to some girl to get other girls jealous around him. He's just an obnoxious character, man. Like, really obnoxious. And then we have the black dude, which didn't get his name either. So, only characters I really care for here is Candace is kind of cute, Sam's cool, and Molly's cool. That's pretty much it. Like I said, same issue with the last movie. I don't care about most of these characters. But, I mean, for this type of movie, you don't really need to. And like I said, they did a good job of getting to know all these characters before we even get to the bridge and have the premonition. I like how the boss, Dennis, calls Sam Stan, and like, he just can't get his name right no matter what. That's pretty funny. And Pete is his friend and boss. So Sam is also a chef, and he's getting an offer for in Paris, which, like I said, so early on mentioning Paris, that he's getting a job there, a job offer, and that he'll be able to go there and cook in Paris in some restaurant, which is like his dream. So now he's kind of rethinking it because of everything going on between him and Molly. And I do like the whole thing with the black dude and Roy, the union rep, and it shows them arguing and fighting here at the beginning. It's cool setup for later in the movie when the black guy accidentally kills Roy and he gets his time, which turns out not being a great thing. But I like all that. And then we see the caution construction sign, and then they're doing construction on the bridge. And I love how you have to sit there on this bus and watch like some stupid corporate video, and like I've been there before. That's annoying as shit. But business retreats are cool though. Well, depends on the business. It depends on what your job is. If the place sucks, it doesn't matter where they take you. Nathan is the dickhead with the glasses who's always on the phone. I like how he gets the phone call from some girl. He's like, "Hey, Katrina." He's like, "Nah, I'm just on my way with some dickheads from the office." Then Dennis, his boss, looks at him and he's like, "Oh no, not you, sir." He's like, "Them." Then he's like, "Let me step into my private office," and he starts walking to the back to the bathroom. And that's his private office. And he says to Dennis, he's like, "Bald is the new black, sir. Bald's the new black." That's some stupid shit to say to your boss. Now, just like in the third movie, where they use the song very prominently, "There's someone walking behind you," I love in this one that they kind of do the same thing, but with Kansas is "Dust in the Wind." Great. Like, I love the whole use of that song throughout this movie. And it really gives it this ominous sound to it. Great stuff. Also, I think this is a fear that most of us can relate to. I mean, if you're seeing going over a bridge like this, and you're seeing a whole bunch of construction going on, I'm sure almost anybody would kind of freak out a little bit. Just get a little uneasy as you're going over the bridge. Like, I know here in Long Island, when, like Robert Moses Beach and Gilgo Beach and stuff, you have to take, and Jones Beach, you have to take these small, like narrow ass bridges to get to the beach. Every time I go over those, I get that little anxious feeling a little bit. So if they're doing construction and like jackhammering into the structure and stuff, yeah, Like, I can definitely see people freaking out. So he has the premonition, and like all the other movies, people die in crazy ways. Like Nathan, he's the only one who stayed on the bus because he was in his office in the bathroom, and then the part of the bridge breaks away, and the bus falls down, and like cool shot when he's falling over the seats as the bus is falling, and then crashes into the water. I mean, you fall from a bridge that high and fall into the water, it's like hitting cement. Like, you're gonna smash into that water and it's gonna hurt or it's gonna kill you. And Sam, Molly, Pete, and the other chick, can't remember her name, but they got off the bus, like the first one's off the bus. Candace, the gymnast, she died, and Dennis dies, and then she falls off and like smacks her head against like the base of the structure of the bridge. That's cool. Oh no, no she doesn't. She falls into the water. And then the car falls onto her. That's gotta suck, man. Like just falling from the bridge itself sucks. But then a car falling on top of you? Terrible. And then Molly, the nice little twist, different thing in this movie is that Molly never dies in the premonition here. Like he gets her across the beam, Sam, and she lives. So she never died in the premonition. So technically she's not really a survivor because she never died in the premonition. So that's a cool little addition here. Oh, when Dennis is like almost falling off the bridge, he's holding on, and then like the truck full of tar, like throws all the tar flies onto him, and he burns and stuff. The CGI already looks so much better than the last film, like so much better. Still not fantastic. Like you could still tell it's CGI, obviously, and you could tell certain shots and stuff like that, certain effects. Like you can doesn't look that great, but leagues better than the last movie. Like 100% with that. Yeah, like in the premonition when Peter gets the rod stuck through the back of his head and it comes out his eye, it doesn't look that good. But I'll take this any day over the last movie CGI. And then he's back to normal out of the premonition, and he cuts his thumb again, and then sees the business video like static, and then hears dust in the wind, and he starts freaking out and starts saying like, we gotta get off of here, like the bridge is gonna collapse. And they all don't believe any of them, but I like how the first thing he does and goes and grabs Molly, even though she's saying like it's not working out and stuff. She still loves him obviously, and she still loves him. Did I say that already? He still loves her and she still loves him. So I like how he goes and grabs her immediately, like that's his only priority is his girl. That's cool. And then Dennis sends Peter off to check on them, and then all the survivors get off, and then the bridge starts collapsing, and they gotta work their way off the bridge to the side, and they have to just see this carnage taking place in front of them. And hey, they're alive yet again because of Premonition Man. This I never talked about in these videos. If death wants them dead so bad, and that they cheated Death's design, and now Death is coming back after them, why even let these people have premonitions in the first place so they can get off the plane or get off the road for in number 2 or the roller coaster or the bridge here? Or like, I'm sure it's not Death giving the premonitions, but we don't know where the premonitions come from. And for this movie, like this series, it doesn't really matter. But I feel like Death like should intervene. Like if it knows that someone's getting the premonition, shut that shit down. Fucking let them see only like the first few minutes of the premonition. Be like, nah, you're staying on this friggin' bus. You're supposed to die here. Death doesn't do a good job at first in all these movies. Then we have the investigator here, the black guy, who, at least it's not the FBI agent from the first movie. The white dude with the glasses. Oh, I hate that character. This guy is actually, I mean, he's hard on him at first, and he's saying it sounds premeditated, and then he starts asking Peter, like, if he's ever shown any extreme behavior, like he's a terrorist or some shit. Like, he starts off hard on him, but then he's kind of just trying to figure out why all these people are dying, the survivors and stuff. And he kind of like lets it go. He doesn't like chase him around this whole movie thinking that he's responsible for any of this, like the FBI agent in the first movie. So then the other guy comes in and he tells the investigator that forensic analysis came in and that the bridge collapse was due to high winds and structural damage. And even he says like high winds, which yeah sounds ridiculous, but I guess it was more the structural damage than the high winds, and that the wind just didn't help the situation. I'm gonna go with that because high winds causing a bridge collapse. Get the fuck out of here. All right, this is a weird line. The newscaster is telling the story of what happened in the bridge collapse and says that including them, like everybody on the bridge was a bus for presage paper that was heading to a business retreat, and 8 of them got off, the other 17 died, and they're being called the Lucky 8. But now their future, they face an uncertain future. What does that mean? It's almost like the news reporter knows that death is going to come and kill all of them. Like, it's very weird. It's a very weird line. Like, what uncertain future? They survived, and they're going to move on with their lives. Like, in not this movie, but I don't know. That just struck me as very strange. What a weird line that is. No, Nathan's not the name of the goofy guy. It's Isaac. But I love the whole like repeating gag throughout this movie that Dennis thinks Isaac died in the in the bridge collapse, like when he's at the memorial for the funerals and stuff like that, and he gets up there and he starts speaking. He's like, "Who can forget Trevor's smile?" And he says something about Isaac, and then he whispers to the girl, he's like, "Did he just say my name?" And then like later on, I remember in the movie, he says again, like, "Wasn't Isaac dead already?" And the guy's like, "No, he's alive." That's hilarious. And then we see Tony Todd here, who happens to be at the cemetery, and he just says, you know, just be careful and watch yourselves now. And then Peter's just like, all right, creepy dude. So, I mean, he's in this for like 10 seconds, and then I remember that they go and see him, or they're all together and they see him again for like another minute and a half. But hey, Tony Todd, doesn't matter how long he's in anything, I'll take it. This weekend on Celebrity Chef. And thank God the whole closing your eyes and getting just images thrown at the main guy from the last movie, or the stupid visions he was getting, thank God they did away with that and didn't continue with that, because I did not like that at all in the last film. So then Sam goes to talk to Molly and tries to find out what's going wrong between them. And she says, "You didn't do anything wrong. It's just Paris." And he's saying he's not going to take the job and uproot his life. And she's telling him to go because it's the only thing he ever dreamed of. And you have to go after what you love. And he's so sweet. He's like, "I am going after what I love," meaning her. Oh, it's adorable, isn't it? So cute. But again, with the Paris stuff over and over again, I really wish they didn't do that. I really wish it was like a big twist at the end, instead of just name dropping Paris over and over again throughout this movie, to the point that it's like, all right, they're going to end up in Paris, and just like the first movie, and it's going to probably tie in together. That's like one of the biggest complaints that I remember having with this movie. So, not that bad. I love the whole way this gymnast scene is filmed with Candace, when she's doing a routine and then she gets on the beam that she's like flipping on and doing cartwheels and whatever the hell. I'm not a gymnast. I don't know the moves and shit. But there's like a screw that falls from the air conditioner and like it's sticking up on the beam. And like it's very well done. It's sticking up here and they build the tension just like with most of the kills in here. And how you think she's going to step on it, and she's stepping over it, and she doesn't notice it's there, and she's coming so close to stepping on it, and the fan that they plug in and stuff, it starts getting water on it. Like, all that build-up is great until she's doing her scene, and then like the, I don't know what that is, like chalk or some shit, like dust of some sort, flies in her face when she's like doing, flipping around on the beam. And then she just lets go because she's so distracted and gets the shit in her face, and she flies in the air and just lands and breaks her body in like a bunch of places. Oh, that sucks. Like, man, that's crazy. And then I remember the autopsy, not the autopsy, whatever, the hospital dude, paramedic, whatever. He's looking. He's like, I can try to recreate this like 1,000 ways. He's like, and I wouldn't be able to figure out what happened here. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, yeah, it's because death itself is involved, yo. It actually looks pretty good when she lands, man, because she just like snaps her back and stuff like over, and like her hand is still like twitching like this a little bit, and her leg bone is sticking out. Looks pretty cool. And then Peter's just in shock, and he's sitting outside, and Sam comes up, and so I came as soon as I heard and stuff, and he's like, I don't get it. She's done this like so many times, but she was nervous and like she wasn't ready to do it. And I should have stopped her and all that, guilt and stuff that he has. Now Tony Todd's like a fucking phantom. Sam sees him standing there when him and Peter are getting ready to leave. Then a second later, he looks back and he's gone. So he can like vanish and evaporate now. Who knows? Olivia is a decently cute chick with the glasses, and then later on she gets laser eye surgery, and if her eye fucking falls out or some shit, if I remember correctly. That's cool. There's some cool deaths in this one, like much better than the last one, but that one had some cool deaths too. So this whole series is great with the death scenes. And then this scumbag Isaac, he's going through the dead employees' like desk drawers and shit, and takes like a whole bunch of change from one of them and says thank you, and then he finds the ticket for the massage place, and he takes that shit too. Like, damn, man, like you're stealing from dead coworkers of yours. Like, oh, what a scumbag. And then they start having drinks, all of them together in the office before Isaac goes and uses that massage parlor ticket. And he gets a cool death scene here too. And I love how the Chinese woman, or Korean, whatever the fuck she is, Asian, and she's like not answering anything he says, and then like she slips up and like reveals that she speaks English and understands every word that he's saying. Like, that's funny as hell. And he's flirting with the Asian chick who like runs the front desk, and she brings him in and puts him on the bed, massage bed. And then she's like, someone will be in to service you, and he's getting all excited after asking, like, does this end with a happy ending and everything? And then his eyes are closed while he starts getting massaged, and then he's like, no, you're going the wrong way, when she starts going up this. Then he opens his eyes, and it's the older Asian chick, and he's like, whoa, like, wait a second, what happened to the younger version of you? I mean, this guy's a dick, but he's funny. Yes, or do you come with subtitles? This guy's hilarious. Now I'm curious to see which eye gets messed up. Because Olivia, when she's leaving the office, she said, oh, that's my ride. And she leaves and she knocks over a picture that has her and somebody else in it. And it cracks, and the crack like originates from her eye. And it's her right eye. So I wonder if that's foreshadowing of what's going to happen to her eye. So I got to see now when that scene comes up if it's the same eye. Because that would be cool. That would be a nice little cool foreshadow. And that's why I thought the name Nathan earlier. That's the black dude's name. So Nathan, Olivia, Isaac's about to die in the massage parlor, Sam, Molly, and Peter. And Dennis, the boss. And then what's the whole thing with Dennis, the boss, calling the FBI agent like 3-4 times throughout this movie and just telling him just stupid shit? Like, what's in it for him? Like, does he think he's getting like a job with the FBI if he helps him out? I don't get it. He calls him up after Peter is saying again in front of everyone that she wasn't ready, and like she didn't want to go through with it, and I should have stopped her, I should have done something. And Molly's like, you couldn't have done anything, and he throws the glass at the wall and walks out. And then he calls the detective, the boss, and he's like, Peter just had some type of breakdown and like threw a glass at the wall. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, does that mean anything? And the guy's just like, no, yeah, call me back if you see anything stranger. And then and he's like over and out. And I don't know what any of that means. And that's fucking stupid. And then Isaac starts to get acupuncture, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever had acupuncture done, but I did once on a cruise like 12, 13 years ago. That shit relaxes you, man. Like, but I think that was before I saw this movie. I would never do it again. Like, after seeing what happens to this guy, never again. Anytime I see acupuncture scenes in a movie, I just think of Takashi Miike's audition at the end with the tick 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 tick, where she puts the needles in him. It's all I think of. And then the Asian massage lady takes his phone and puts it on the shelf right next to a candle and says to him just like 30 minutes you sleep and you feel real good, and just walks out of the room. And I always say this, I don't think I've mentioned this in a while because I haven't seen it in a movie, but whenever there's a shit ton of candles, it bothers me. Like, not so much with this because it's supposed to be, calming environment and everything, so it makes sense that there's so many candles. But like in a lot of movies, when there's just a shit ton of candles for no reason, that bothers me. Like, there should be 2 candles, 3 tops. After that, you're not really increasing your visibility or anything. That felt good getting it out. I haven't bitched about candles in like dozens of videos at least. And then the table collapses and he falls off onto his stomach and onto all the needles. Oh man, that's gotta be painful, dude. And cool, his death. Like, he starts crawling to the edge of the room and the fire starts and it gets like close to him, but then it starts like backing away like in a weird way, and he sighs. He's like, and then the Buddha statue falls off the shelf and just lands on his head and crushes his head in, and it squirts at the camera, the blood. That's cool. Mingyun Spa. It's called Mingyun Spa. So now 2 of the survivors are dead, Candace and now douchebag Isaac, and then they're all hanging out outside the massage parlor, and they see Tony Todd again. And they go up to have a little word with him. And he doesn't just evaporate away this time. He actually stays here and talks with them. So who knows how long this has been going on? Like death, cheating, people having premonitions and cheating death and the survivors dying. Because Tony Todd says here that he's seen this before. That someone, group of people get off and survive a disaster, and then they die one by one. So he said he's seen it before, but we know this is a prequel, and it takes place before the events of Flight 180. So Flight 180 wasn't the first, disaster, and when all the survivors started dying afterwards. So he's seen this a few times beforehand. So that line right there gives them opportunity to do prequels and stuff like that and explore some things and events that happened before Flight 180. So yeah, this is the whole thing I don't like, is when Tony Todd starts explaining to them that you shorted death, and now if you kill somebody basically, then you get all the years that they would have had, and they take your place in death, and the books are balanced. This is stupid. We've never heard of it in any of the previous installments. I don't get it. Like, if this was a thing, why didn't he tell this to Alex and then Clear in the second movie? He never mentioned any of that shit. So I don't like that whole idea. Doesn't work for me one bit. Alright, so we got Olivia's scene leading up to her death at the laser eye surgery. It is her right eye. So that's cool foreshadowing with the picture earlier. And she's getting ready to have the surgery, and the doctor's putting drops in her eye, and then Clockwork Orange's her eyelids open so that her eye doesn't close. Then she just gets friggin' fucked by this laser, man. Yeah, she tries to grab the emergency stop button, but it falls and lands on the start button, and the laser comes and starts slicing her eye like it looks cool. Then she's putting her hand up to block it, and the laser's cutting through her hand. Like, really cool stuff. Like, it looks good. Like, the CGI on her eye being cut up by the laser doesn't look half bad at all. Oh, that's right. I forgot this happens to her. So then she steps on the loose screw or whatever, and she trips when the doctor and Sam and Molly come in, and she falls right out the window, the glass window, and she falls to her death and lands on the car, and then like topples over off of it onto the floor, onto the cement, and then her eye popped out and rolls like a little distance from her. And I like how the pupil dilates a little bit until the car comes and runs over the eye twice. That sucks, man. Losing your eye. I mean, she's dead, so it doesn't really matter. But, reminds me of Fulci. So the agent comes to the laser eye surgery place and sits down with Molly and Sam and says, like, listen, I know you two didn't do this, but I feel like you know something about what's happening here, because now 3 survivors are dead. And he tells them, he's like, we think that we weren't supposed to survive on the bridge, and now something's trying to set it right. And he's like, something. And he's like, that's all I know. He's like, and then he says to the agent, Sam, he's like, but, you know, if you come up with any other explanations, like, please let us know. That's cool. Oh, I like a little earlier, after Isaac's death, right before Tony Todd comes, and Sam is saying to Molly that she didn't die in the premonition and that he got her over the beam to the other side, so she survived. And then Peter is so guilty and depressed and upset with how Candace died, and that he didn't do anything to save her. And he starts fighting with them, saying like, "Oh, you saved her? Like you deemed that she was more worthy to live than the rest of us?" And like she's like, "No, that's not what he's saying." And like, I like that whole little argument back and forth. And like I said earlier, I like that whole little addition that she doesn't die in the premonition, so she shouldn't even be part of any of this. Yeah, so then that whole earlier scene at the beginning of the movie with Roy, the union rep, being a dick to Nathan. And Nathan's having a struggle with him and stuff, and he ends up pushing him back, and the hook comes down, and he falls through the floor, and he gets impaled right through the neck with the hook. So now Nathan killed him. He didn't mean to. I mean, when Peter asks him, like, you killed him and stuff, and he says, like, yeah, I guess I did, and stuff. He did not kill him. He did not mean to or anything. That was a complete accident. Like, complete accident. But he still reaps the benefits, because he gets Roy's time that he would have had left, which we find out at the end is not long. Then I like how Peter goes to Dennis and tries explaining all of this to him, and he's just making jokes and shit, like you haven't met my in-laws and stuff about guilt killing you, all of that. And then he makes another call to the agent, and he's like, you just came in saying some really weird stuff, and like, over and out. Like, I do not understand all of that with Dennis calling the agent over and over again. What is that supposed to mean? Someone give me an answer, because I don't get any of that. Like, he's telling the agent, like, Peter was screaming, like, stuff about, like, kill or be killed, and, oh yeah, it definitely sounded like a threat. And, like, what is his end game here? It's so stupid. And then they were figuring out a little earlier, Sam and her, Molly, that it's just like usual, except for the second movie, that everyone dies in the order they would have died in the bridge, and then he won't say who's supposed to be next, and then Dennis walks in and says, like, hey, what's going on here? And then, like, the wrench, like, flies into, like, some type of belt, and then just hits him right in the face, kills him, blood splatters on all of them. Cool death. And like there's practical effects of the aftermath, like when he's laying there, like with the wrench in his face. Looks cool. I like here when Sam goes back to work at the restaurant, and he starts looking at every implement that could kill him, like the row of knives, and like the torch that one of the guys is using, and the fryer. Like, he's looking at every single thing that could possibly kill him here. So Sam says to his boss, if the offer still stands, he'd like to take it. So he's going to go to Paris and get his new job there. There are so many candles again here. Like, after the restaurant closes and Sam just cooks a nice dinner or some shit for him and Molly. I get it's supposed to be romantic, so that's why all the candles are there. So again, can't bitch about the candles, even though I really want to bitch about a lot of candles right now. It's really driving me nuts. And then Peter shows up. Not only does he ruin a nice romantic time between them, he tries to fucking shoot and kill Molly. Yeah, so Molly isn't involved in this at all, because Peter says that it's just he's next, and then it's Sam. So she's scot free from all of this. So good for her. And then Peter starts talking about how he was thinking real hard about whether he can take a stranger's life in order to get their time. And he said he couldn't kill anyone, he couldn't go through with it, he couldn't kill someone who didn't deserve to die. And then he thought about Candace, and she didn't deserve to die, and starts listing through all the survivors who died in all these weird ways that they didn't deserve to die. This is stupid. I don't get what any of this means. So he's saying that he couldn't go through with killing a stranger. But then he starts saying about all these people didn't deserve to die, and then he asks, does he deserve to die? And Molly says, no, of course you don't. And then he pulls the gun on Molly and says, like, so I thought, like, someone who doesn't deserve to live, and pulls the gun on Molly and says, like, you don't deserve to live, like you said it yourself. So he's trying to kill Molly, who worked at this job, and is his good friend Sam's his girlfriend. He's fine with killing her, but he couldn't kill a stranger? I don't get any of that. That's kind of dumb. And then he knocks Sam on the ground, and then the knife spins in the air magically before it falls right next to his head. And Peter's like, yeah, it's not your time to go yet. Oh, and the agent was following them or something, and he was outside, and he called in. He's like, shots fired. So now he's on to Peter. Yeah, and again, so Peter couldn't kill a stranger or find a criminal or a gang member or a murderer or something like that. Couldn't do any of that. But he shoots and kills an FBI agent. Any time that he had left, he's going to prison forever. Like, I don't get this whole thing with him not being able to kill a stranger, but then going after Molly, who he knows, like, very well, and now kills an FBI agent. I don't know, stupid. And now all this stupid shit that I'm talking about all traces back to the whole dumb idea of this whole premise here of that if you kill somebody, you get their time back. We never had any of that in the series, like I said. So if they didn't include that in here and make this stupid idea up, then we wouldn't have any of this stupidity. So it all traces back to that dumb idea, which I don't like. Yeah, so Peter just goes nuts and snaps, I'm guessing. Because after he kills the agent, he just says to Molly, he's like, well, you just witnessed me shoot and kill a federal agent, so I'm not about to spend all the time that I just earned in prison and then start shooting at her and trying to kill her. So he's just kill happy at this point. He's just ready to go on a murder spree. And then there's a whole struggle between Sam and Peter, and then Peter's about to kill Molly when she's cowered in the corner, and he says, like, tell Candace that I love her, and then right before he's able to do anything, the rotisserie chicken skewer comes through his chest, like through his back out the chest. Looks cool. And then it was Sam. Sam killed him. So now Sam gets the agent's life and years that he would have had, right? Because Peter got it, and now he killed Peter, which means he has the years that Peter has, which is what the agent would have had. So he has all the years that this FBI agent's going to live, or would have lived. Then we flash forward to 2 weeks later, and they're getting on the plane to Paris. And then, like I said, they have the really cool use of footage from the first movie, when they have their side of the plane, and then they show the shots of Carter and Alex fighting in the aisle and them being taken off the plane. And they don't think this is weird at all. I mean, I guess not, but after everything they've just been through, like, I don't think they heard him say that the plane's going to explode or anything like that. You don't hear it in the short little footage they show from the first movie. But wasn't he saying that? Like, that we got to get off this plane, that it's going to explode and stuff like that? I don't remember, but I guess they didn't hear any of that. So they're on their plane, and they're ready to go to Paris, but we know they ain't getting there. And like I said, it's cool. Like, I like how this series wraps around here. That it started with the first movie, Flight 180, and it ends here with Flight 180. And then he puts the headphones on, and Kansas's Dust in the Wind starts playing, so he knows something bad's gonna happen. Oh, that's right. So then one of the passengers asks the stewardess and says, "So what happened with those people earlier who got off the plane?" And she said some guy had a panic attack and wanted off the plane. He said he had some type of vision, and Sam hears this and he's like, "Oh no!" And then he says, goes to turn to Molly, and you see the engine blowing up. And then the plane just ignites and blows up and fucking burns them to death, and they all die. Then we see Nathan at this little bar here, and Roy had an enlarged blood vessel in his brain, and it was so big that it was going to burst, and that he'd be dead any day now. So, and then we hear Kansas is Dust in the Wind again, and he says, "Life's a bitch," the guy he's talking to, and he walks away. And then the debris from Flight 180, the tire falls through the ceiling and crushes Nathan, and his severed hand flies at the screen. Final destination, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It counts down, and it shows all the deaths and the crazy accident scenes from the previous movies. So, cool. I enjoyed this on this rewatch, like more than I remember. This is a good final entry, even though it's not a final entry because we are supposed to be getting a Final Destination 6. I looked up on IMDb yesterday. It's in pre-production still. But I remember hearing that it was going to release to HBO Max. So, and I know they already have people casted for it, so I don't know what they're going to do with it. I read from, I think, the director or the writer, something like that, that they're going to do something different this time. It's still going to be Final Destination, but they're not just going to throw a disaster at you, premonition of a disaster, or then death picking people off one by one. So that's interesting. But where they're going to go with it, I have no idea. Is it going to be connected to these 5 movies, or is it going to be its own separate thing? Kind of like Spiral, Book of Saw is its own separate thing, sort of, from the first 8 Saw movies. I don't know. But great rewatch. And definitely a blast going through this whole series. So that's the Final Destination series. And I barely slept. It's like 8 in the morning. I don't know if I'll get Spiral out. I might. I have to go to my mom's cousin's in later today, but it's not till like 3 in the afternoon. So I'll probably have Spiral out. And like I keep saying, that'll be a very interesting rewatch because I do not care for that movie. It's not terrible. It's not like bad. It's just whatever. So interested to see if my opinions change because I only saw that movie when it came out, and maybe once more after that. I might have only saw it the one time. I don't remember. I literally remember really nothing from that movie. Just that I hate what they did with Jigsaw's voice, making it sound like this completely different voice. It sounds like a woman almost. Don't like it at all. But what a blast this franchise is, and I'm looking forward to the 6th one. Just to see, I mean, it's really hard to screw up a Final Destination film. Like I said in one of these videos, I said you basically have your first 25 minutes of the movie already set for you. Once you pick whatever the disaster is going to be, then you know you're starting introducing the characters, and then the premonition, and then the actual accident, and then the whole them get together. So it's not hard to make one of these movies, or like write one of them. But since they say that it's this one 6 is supposed to be different, I'm very interested to see what they do. So I'll have Spiral up sometime today, and probably some other movie. But hey guys, wherever you guys are from, hope you're having a great morning, afternoon, or night, and I will talk to you all soon. Take care, guys.